Hello, hope everyone's well. I just realised on my last video I was going completely off topic, so I'm going to start again. I was talking about how I've been in York. I've just been away for the weekend with my family. It was really nice, beautiful place, amazing history, great museums, great roads, unbelievable buildings. Just don't see that in modern building anymore. It's crazy, the architect. It's just so quirky but beautiful. It's amazing. Anyway, back to my topic. I was in one of the museums going through the war era of this part of the museum and what happened in the war against Germany, Hitler, and the Nazis. And I was talking to this gentleman, and he was telling me about his father, and then I would tell him about my partner's grandparents, because they were Irish, but they were prisoners of war as well as this gentleman's dad. His dad was actually a prisoner of war for 6 years, and he was just skin and bone when he came home, really unwell, but never talked about the war. Neither did my partner's grandparents. They didn't want anyone to know about the war. Anyway, back to having a conversation with this guy. I said to him, looking at the ages on these posters that it was teaching you, there was young men, 16, trying to get into this war to fight against this terror that was coming through Europe, and they were underage, but they were fighting to get into the recruitment and lying about their age just to go and fight on the front line for this war, to fight for their country. They were proud men, young men. And I was saying to this guy, after seeing what happened, this is just in my head, like, obviously we saw what happened with Trump and Zelensky the other day. It was a bit of a uncomfortable situation, but unfortunately these things happen. They just happen more behind closed doors. There's always going to be disagreements around with big, powerful men like that, and women. And anyway, going back to the conversation with this guy, I said, I couldn't imagine the young men going and doing that nowadays. I remember years ago I asked my friend, and he said he'd hide in a basement or under the floorboards if they came looking for him. That's just unbelievable. You just don't get young men wanting to go to war anymore. I feel like we've learnt the history and realised that it was never benefited the younger men. They'd have been better off staying at home, really, wouldn't they? But I said that to this guy, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, with Trump being in power, it looks like we're going to World War III." Now, he was a nice guy, and I wouldn't argue with him. And this is where a lot of people that are viewing this video might have a disagreement with me, and that is completely fine. This is why I do this. This is why I have my channel. It's to openly voice how I feel. None of this is scripted. This is just my view on the situations, and that's how it's always been. But I just nodded and thought, oh yeah, no, and I understand, sort of thing. It's just a shame that hopefully we don't come to having a war, because war is the last thing that anyone wants, because at the end of the day, war means people die, and no one wants to die, do they? Because at the end of the day, it's not just the men that are getting shot and killed, it's the family that's left behind, it's the mums and dads of these sons that have been slaughtered, and it's also the partners and the children that all grow up fatherless, and in some case motherless as well, if there's mums around on the front line, because that is something that they're trying to bring into the Marines in UK, and that is a completely other topic. My sister, my younger sister's 19. She actually went through training, and my mum was the same. She wanted to drop the weights to allow the girls to have an advantage. That's bonkers. I'll tell you why in a bit. Anyway, going back to the conversation with this guy. Now, I walked away thinking, why does he think Trump's the bad guy? Not a lot of people are a big fan of Trump. I can see why. His characteristics, the personality, the way he is. Yeah, I get that. It's a bit similar to me and how I feel about Starmer. But you've got to see that this man really is trying to get peace. He wants the war to stop. He was asking Zelensky to call a ceasefire, which means weapons down and halt. No one dies. There's no more shooting. There's no more conflict until a deal is met. Need to find a deal, and then we can get back to some sort of normality and start rebuilding Ukraine and rebuilding Russia. Okay? Because at the end of the day, the men that are fighting on the front line, it's not their fault. They are forced to do this on both sides. There are Russian soldiers that are on the front line that don't want to be on the front line, shooting at their neighbours, and there are front line soldiers in Ukraine that have practically been picked up in vans and made to hold a gun and shoot at their neighbours. Now, it just sounds horrible, because that would in a way be like me shooting against, I know some bit of Ireland is part of England, but shooting at my Irish neighbours or my Welsh neighbours or my Scottish neighbours. I couldn't do it. I could not feel comfortable doing that. And these men are doing it, and they don't want to do it. Like, they don't want to go and shoot other people, okay? These are now civilians. These are not just soldiers. These are civilians now that have been taught for a few weeks and then sent off onto the front line. And I don't think people fully understand that, and I don't think this gentleman fully understood that. But like, if Kier Starmer has just said he is willing to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to make sure that there is a peace deal happening with between Putin and Zelensky. If my neighbour started to plough through my fence line at the back and said that that was his land, I'd be fuming. I'd be so angry. Me and him, we would have conflict, because there's no way I would let him just start taking my land. But if he was adamant that that was his land, and he had proof that that was his land, I'm like, not a chance, you're not having that land, I bought that land, that is my land, then we're going to have conflict. Now, if I turned up with 10, 20, 30 of me mates, and they're a lot bigger than me, and I stood them there next to that fence line, and I was just sat there saying, "Not have my land. These are here to make sure that you don't take that land." And then he thought, you know what? I'm going to go and get 20, 30 of my mates, and they're going to stand behind me, and we are going to take that land. Do you think there's going to be any peace in that? Do you think that there's going to be peace? Do you think he's going to stop? Do you think anything's going to stop? Or do you think there's going to be more force on that front line, on that neighbouring line? Do you think there's going to be more adrenaline, more fear, more fight or flight hormones going through our mates, pushing and shoving? What happens if someone throws a stone and then another person throws a stone? What happens then? Are we just going to stand there and go, whoa, 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 stop throwing stones? Is that just going to stop? Or is that going to get into, no, we need more lads now, right, this is crazy, get the bricks, no, get a steel pole, get a baseball bat, get a golf club, come on, that's it, let's go and have peace. I don't understand what bit of peace having British soldiers and planes in the air on the front line is gonna, I don't understand how that's gonna create peace. I really don't. But then everyone's against Trump because he's asked for a complete ceasefire, which is something that Zelensky can do. But Zelensky is asking the British taxpayer, sorry, in fact he's not even asking the British taxpayer, he's asking the person that runs this country, that speaks on behalf of the British taxpayer. Now the British taxpayer, if you don't know, is completely struggling. Everything's through the roof. Food, energy, fuel, water has gone up, council tax has gone up, car insurance has gone up, everything's gone up. Everything has gone up for the British taxpayer. Do you think we need our money going to another country that really we don't have much involvement, or ever have had much involvement prior to this, like previously to this? There's never been talks of what we've done for them. I know we've had a bit of energy, but most of it was Russian energy coming through Ukraine. There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more to it that I don't fully understand, so you can clue me up on that. But all I'm getting to is, why is everyone so angry at Donald Trump and not understanding that Kier Starmer's boots on the ground and planes in the air is probably the opposite of peace? I don't understand why anyone else can't see that. Now, if there is someone out there and you do see this video, just spend 5-10 minutes for me, please, and just explain to me why boots on the ground, planes in the air is a better way to stop a war on a front line of where the war is, rather than the person owning these lands coming to some sort of ceasefire agreement just while they sort out a deal and getting something in place to completely prevent this war from ongoing, having a complete and total finish and end to this war. Someone just explain that to me, because I can't see it. I'm not a massive fan of Starmer, and I was never really a big fan of Trump. But all I know is Trump gets things done and Starmer doesn't. The only thing that I see Starmer getting done here is actually starting putting more aggression into a war that really doesn't have anything to do with me and the rest of England. Because we have things going on in England that need fixing that aren't being fixed. I mean, our economy is completely collapsing, but yet we're sending billions over to Ukraine, which is funding young men that don't want to fight each other and die. If it is literally like our tax money is going to men to go and shoot other men, die, and never see their family again. Their wives and their children never get to see their father again because our tax money funded that. It's just hard for me to understand, and that's why I'm putting this video out there. This is why I'm recording this. This is why I'm just wondering why wherever I go everyone hates Donald Trump, and I don't know why, because in my eyes, the way I see it, he is literally trying to call for a ceasefire and then create an end to this ongoing war, because it's been going on for years. It's not just now, it's been happening for years. There's been conflict there for years. So yeah, that's just a video on my thoughts on the war, really, and what's going on in Ukraine. I just think it's madness. But Kier Starmer asking for boots on the ground and aeroplanes, planes in the air, I just don't understand how anyone can think that that is a good thing. They keep saying they don't want the war in Ukraine, but then they're happy to stand by Starmer to let their kids go to a war that's pretty much nothing to do with England. Like, I'm sure some mums and dads are watching this. You've got to understand, do you want your young son or your young daughter, whether they're 10 now, in 8 years, if this war's still going, they could be going and fighting in 8 years' time, probably younger, in a war? Are you still happy for Starmer to do that? Are you prepared to go to war to Russia for your young kids to probably not come home? Because I'm not. I don't want my daughter going to a war that's nothing to do with us. You know, I'd rather Donald Trump sorted out a deal, or Starmer said to Zelensky, maybe you should call a ceasefire, and then we will fund you rebuilding Ukraine, and some of those precious minerals that you've got on your land, you can give them back. You can give us some of that gas that you've got, make our energy bills down. We'll build Ukraine up with you, and you provide us with cheap energies. That is a deal that we can do, and no one else dies. And if you have to lose a plot of land to Russia, we will make it better. We will make Ukraine better for the loss of that land, and you could reimburse the families that are living on that land and that city. Maybe you can give them a better housing, no mortgage free for the rest of their life. Maybe that's a deal that we could look at. And for all the families that have lost these young men over the past few years, maybe we can help them fund their mortgages and build their houses up. Have a proper memorial garden for the fathers and the mothers that have been lost in the war. That's a deal. That's stop the end to the war and then come up with a deal, and then help the families that don't want to lose that land. That's how I would do it. But putting boots on the ground and planes in the air, that is not gonna create peace. It really isn't, is it? Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. Take care. Thanks again for listening to me rant. Hopefully you have an understanding of where I'm coming from, and hopefully I've changed your mind and maybe given you a better understanding on what you can see coming out of this war, because it's not good, but it can end like that. It really can. But yeah, take care everyone, speak soon, bye.